Hey, how's everyone doing? Ken here from the Retro Toyscapades channel in Malaysia. Today I'm checking out the Masters of the Universe Origins Wave 8 Clawful figure. Clawful, the warrior with the grip of evil. Clawful comes with some tantalizing cardback artwork, with both him and Whiplash treacherously tag-teaming on Tila. His bio reads, Clawful's crushing brutality and cunning intellect make him one of He-Man's more vicious enemies. If you watch the classic cartoon though, I don't think you'd suspect him of having a cunning intellect. Now, the visual here is a homage to the classic cardback artwork for the 80s Clawful figure, where you find Clawful squaring off against Tila, and Tila appears to be more confident in this classic portrait here when she's just taking on Clawful alone. But in the new portrait where she's against Clawful and Whiplash together, she appears to be somewhat distressed. However, as a female warrior in the modern day, I would say that Tila is going to be perfectly fine. There is no way that these two horrible monsters are going to get the better of her. Of course, the really juicy bit that's got all of fandom super excited is the appearance of Whiplash here and the possibility of him turning up in a future action figure wave. I'm just wondering if he's going to come with an articulated reptilian tail, because the tail on the vintage figure was just a rubbery mess. Now, what do you guys think? You also get detailed pictorial panels here on how to operate Clawful's grabbing claw action, and also how to twist and shape his body into powerful battle positions. I also wanted to mention that in a notable move for Mattel to have more diversity, inclusion, and racial balance in action figure advertising, the picture of the cartoon hand that you see here operating Clawful's claw lever is that of a black kid's. Clawful as a character has always had a sort of disconnect with the version that I think of him in my mind. In the classic Filmation cartoon, he looked like a weird punk rock monster with a mohawk, tiny claws, and a long extended mouth like a dinosaur. Then came his original action figure, and he looked nothing like his cartoon counterpart. And I thought to myself, why does his head look like a piece of fruit? In the 2002 MOTU incarnation, Clawful was reimagined as this really fucking awesome, hulking beast of a monster. It has been this version of the character that stuck with me for the last 20 years or so. I didn't care about any other version. Last year, the Eternia Minis collection put out a version of Clawful that I felt was very closely aligned with the 2002 Clawful, and I thought that all Mattel Clawfuls going forward were going to look like this. Anyway, I was wrong. So this new Origins Clawful figure goes back full circle and follows back his original 80s action figure design. But there is at least one hugely significant improvement that this figure has made over the original, and that is the head sculpt. Now, I hated it at first from the early promotional images that came out a few months ago, but having it in hand now, I have to say that it really is quite outstanding for what it is. It takes the same design beats as the 80s figure, but changes the shape of the head considerably, and also improves on the sculpting and the detail on all of the exposed teeth in his mouth, making him look just so much more threatening. Just look at this side-by-side comparison right here. You can see how the vintage Clawful head kind of looks like a tomato with fangs. Checking out the armor on both the new and vintage Clawful figures. Now, of course, I think the armor looks a whole lot better on the new one. Although the material that's used on both figures are different, the armor on the vintage figure uses hard plastic to give it that sheen that you see here, while the Origins one is made out of a much softer texture that we're used to by now. Now, the design on the back of the figures is similar as well, and in fact, I think this is the first time in Origins that this Clawful armor is making an appearance. So if you've never had the vintage figure, this one right here is a real treat for you. Now, his legs are the same as Buzz-Off, so just like Buzz-Off, both the thighs and feet are much larger than the vintage figure. Now, the entire left shoulder section, right down to the tiny pincer claw, is an exact duplicate of Buzz-Off's left shoulder. Okay, everything here is the same. I thought that they would at least update that tiny baby-like pincer claw, but nope, they kept everything the same, exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is the color. Okay, the color is now red. Okay, everything else is a duplicate from Buzz-Off. And then we get down to the claw that's on the right hand here, and this is an exact replica of what the vintage claw hand was. And there's just something about the design of this claw. I was never really a fan of it. I know it's vintage, but it just always struck me as something that looked like a swollen thumb. Like like this guy's thumb was like infected and it just grew really large. It just really didn't seem threatening to me at all. It never did. And it's back here again. It's got some nice detailing on it, just like the vintage original, but it's the same design, the design that I never really much cared for. The one thing that really disappointed me is that the right claw is the exact same size as that of the vintage one. Now, I thought that they were going to use this opportunity to supersize it, all right? Just scale it up like the way that they did with Jitsu's golden right hand. They made that thing like so much bigger than the vintage one, but they didn't here, and it's kind of like a missed opportunity to me. I think when it comes to massive right-handed claws, the design for the 2002 Clawful figure just had the final word on this. I mean, just look at the size of that sucker. That is what a freaking monster claw should look like. Now, as far as the operation of the claw goes, the tiny lever at the bottom gets this thing opening and closing and just snapping away like so. There's not much you can actually fit in there. Or maybe your finger if you wanted to. But if you get a bit creative, you could probably wrap this thing around one of the figures. Probably his arms, his hands, or maybe even his neck. Hey, Bug! Fancy seeing you here. What are you doing? Look, I really don't have the time for this. I need to get back. Okay, my subjects are waiting for me. Oh, hey, come on, don't be that way. Let's play, Bug. Hey, Bug, check this out. We both have the same left hand. Get off me. What are you doing? Get off me. Now, Clawful comes with a standard green mace accessory. This one's pretty much a replica of the original, but there are some subtle design changes, mainly around the handle here. This thing's a little bit more straight, a little bit more longer and straight. The vintage one, as I recall, had a little bit more of a curve to it. Now, I seem to have misplaced my vintage accessory. I think it's been gone for like a couple of years now. I can't seem to locate it at all, but I did find a photo of it. As you can see here, the shape of the handle is entirely different from that of the new one. So this is a small but still noticeable difference between both versions. Now, this mace fits into his left claw. You just got to find that groove in there. There's a slot there where it just fits in pretty snugly. And yeah, you can have him wielding it like so, okay, and have him ready to use it in battle. Now, all in, this is a solid update to the classic Clawful action figure. If you're a fan of the original 80s design, then you're going to be very happy with this figure. As for me, it did turn out a lot better than I expected it to. There were some things that I wish they had improved on, but overall, I still have to say that this figure is one of the standouts of this wave, and it's a must get. So let me know what you thought of the new Origins Wave 8 Clawful figure. Let me know what you thought of the video. I want to hear your comments. And as always, thank you for your support on the channel. I'll catch all of you guys again real soon with more content. Take care. Playtime's over, Bug. Time to sleep. Sleep, Bug. Sleep forever.